just how hard he hit. And my mama told me homecoming games are the best. On the banks of those late fall, late cartwheel sunsets. I wanted to be just like Jeff Davis when I grew up, tackling Seminoles and Bulldogs, playing football in the mud. So everybody sing Tiger Rag at the top of your lungs, and we'll party like it's 1981. Make those Death Valley lights shine brighter. And for good luck, we got Howard's Rock to beat the hell out of them old Gamecocks. It's a damn good day to be a Clemson Tiger. I feel really sorry for our sisters to the south, 'cause they come up here every other year and get punched in the mouth. Oh, and every home Saturday, it gives us the chills to watch those boys in orange run together down that hill. So everybody sing Tiger Rag at the top of your lungs, and we'll party like it's 1981. Make those Death Valley lights shine brighter. And for good luck, we got Howard's Rock to beat the hell out of them old Gamecocks. It's a damn good day to be a Clemson Tiger. Oh, somewhere up in heaven, Gaines Adams makes us sad. And that old Banks McFadden is the best damn running back. So everybody, sing Tiger Rag at the top of your lungs, and we'll party like it's 1981. Make those Death Valley lights shine brighter. And for good luck, we got Howard's Rock to beat the hell out of them old Gamecocks. It's a damn good day to be a Clemson Tiger. It's a damn good day to be a Clemson Tiger. Everybody, damn good day to be a Clemson Tiger. Oh yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. Pigskin Pete here. Happy Tuesday to everybody. Glad to be back with you today. Have a very special guest coming on. He should be calling in here any minute. If you're having a problem getting through, man, I don't know why that would be. Maybe it's because I'm using my phone as a hotspot. Anyway, the cat is out of the bag. As you can see from the screen here, my special guest today is none other than the legend himself, Uncle Lou, to talk about the South Carolina Gamecock and the University of Georgia game this week. One of the most hyped up games of the week by any measure. It's not even close. So let's see, while we're waiting on him, let me see who's in the chat here. Say hello to everybody. Good afternoon, Miranda Dansby. How you doing? Tiger Nation, Nick Bro. Billy Dawson, Clemson fan, says greetings. Prince 6'1", my boy. B Spooky, the resident Ohio State fan. Catfish from the Volunteer Roadshow. How you doing, sir? Lee Smith. Will the Rebel 123. Air Max the Legend Killer. Fox 87. And if I missed anybody, I sincerely apologize. So a little bit of news for anybody who didn't know, and I'm sure you probably already did know, is for my live stream Thursday, it'll be a regular stream at 4 p.m. like I normally do. And then the game I will be streaming live play-by-play and reaction on Saturday night will be Clemson and Texas A&M. So please stop in and watch that. That should be a really fun one. Now, I know the one that comes on at 3:30 is the Clemson and Georgia game. So I'll definitely be watching that one. Let's see what you guys are saying here. Oregon Ducks football and basketball. Good afternoon. 19 Savage, how you doing? 126 years of nothing. but being our little punching bag. Oh yeah, conference title and division title, 126 years. Ah ha 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 ha. Go Carolina. Don't lie. All of us got on here because we saw Lou was on here. Well, Lou's not on here yet. Of course it was. You guys are arguing about something down there, which is nothing new in the Pete YouTube channel. So Oregon Ducks football, basketball, talking about the Virginia Tech game last night. Now, obviously, now I woke up this morning to, oh, you idiot, you picked Florida State. Now, listen, 80% of the people in the country picked Florida State. All right. So, listen, Florida State was favored in the game. You act like I went out on a limb there by picking them. Now, I will say this. Florida State looked terrible. I mean, now we know one thing for sure, right? I mean, Willie Taggart has not fixed that offensive line. Virginia Tech was in that backfield having a picnic. What did they have, like 30 plays of negative yardage? Florida State did. Oh, man. I tell you what, if they can't fix that in a hurry, they're going to be it's going to be a long season for them. Clemson could, with Clemson's defensive line, we could score. I mean, we could keep them to 0 points and score 60 on them. They just look that bad. However, everyone tends to overreact all the way around across the board. I think LSU fans are overreacting, thinking that LSU's back. No, not so fast. Game one, Miami played terrible. You played great. Good job. You're still gonna have a tough road ahead of you. If you're Miami, don't overreact. I mean, you do have a quarterback problem, and you maybe have a coaching problem as far as the coach not having any balls. I also heard that Mark Richt suspended some players for that game for like not going to a mandatory Bible study or something. Now I forget where I read that, but if that's true, that's ridiculous. But if you're Miami, don't jump off the ledge yet. Yes, Miami looked bad. Yes, Virginia Tech looked good, but they still have to play each other. And guess where they play each other this year? In Blacksburg. So good luck to them for that. The other one, Michigan, Notre Dame. I don't find it an overreaction, to be honest, about Michigan losing. I mean, Notre Dame, for all we know, could be one of the 3 best teams in America. They could go on and win and go 12-0 and go to the playoff and say that loss by Michigan will not look so bad, having lost the first game of the year at Notre Dame. Problem is that Michigan is 9-9 in their last 18 games, and Michigan hasn't won a road game against a ranked team since 2006. So I don't know if it's so much of an overreaction for Michigan. If I'm a Michigan fan, I'm a little disappointed that they lost. Clemson, Texas A&M might be better than we thought, but it will be close until the fourth quarter. Clemson wins, he says. I disagree. I don't think it's going to be close until the fourth quarter. That's just, I know, listen, you're asking the wrong guy. I have a clear biased opinion on this particular game with Clemson and Texas A&M. However, I still don't think it's going to be close. I just think I'd be shocked if it was close. So they're favored right now by 13 points, I think. Clemson is in Vegas. Now, that doesn't mean anything. Look at last night's game. That's proof positive of that. But I tell you one thing: these Texas A&M players are doing the same thing that the Louisville players were doing and running their mouth about how they're going to beat Clemson. We saw how that worked out for Louisville against Alabama. And there's not that much of a talent gap difference between Alabama and Louisville and Clemson and Texas A&M, I promise you. They're digging their own grave by doing that stuff. College Football Maniac says Clemson's best game will be against Boston College. I do think that'll be a good game. Boston College looks like the real deal. And believe me, Anybody who doesn't really follow college football year round, and they hear somebody say that Boston College is going to be a tough game, they think that you're delusional. But believe me, A.J. Dillon is a beast, and their defense looks pretty good too. And I definitely don't like the fact that Clemson has to go to Boston at night in November to play that game. Oregon Ducks football basketball says he knew Virginia Tech would win. Okay, because you have a crystal ball, sir. I guess. What's up, Pete? Last night's game between Virginia Tech and Florida State was surprising to say the least. I agree. I agree. Well, there's two things. The most surprising thing was that Virginia Tech finally had a pulse of an offense for the first time since Bill Clinton was president. That's the most surprising thing. I wasn't surprised to see Virginia Tech have a good defense. They always do. And, of course, I was very surprised to see that Florida State couldn't even score a touchdown. That's pretty shocking. I don't care. Listen, you can sit here and say Florida State sucks all you want to. There's no excuse for them not scoring a touchdown. So is Carolina ranked? I don't think so, Tiger Nation. I saw the top 25 earlier. I'm pretty sure that I saw that South Carolina was not ranked. So. It was all over social media saying Virginia Tech would stomp Florida State. It was all over social media. Who is that a person? Again, Florida State was favored in the game. And it's not like, everybody was putting their money on Florida State and the money moved that way. It started that way, and it stayed that way. It opened up with Florida State as a favorite. And as a matter of fact, I think that they were favored by like 7 points or something like that. Florida State sucks a lot more than I thought they sucked. Hey, Georgia, you're a Florida fan. I know. I get what's going on here with you. Nick Bro says that USCjr is ranked number 24. Okay, good for them. And then College Football Maniac says no, South Carolina isn't ranked. I think when I looked at the 25 today, I did not see South Carolina on there. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Somebody has them number 24. Yeah, probably a Gamecock fan. Florida is ranked for some reason, says a Voltard. Yeah, Voltard is trolling the Florida fans, saying Charleston Southern must be a real juggernaut. If Syracuse beats Florida State, then Taggart's gone. No, Taggart's not gone in his first year. Listen, he could go 0-12. He's not going to be gone. He's just not going to happen. And I'll get into what I'm expecting from Florida and the rest of the SEC East. If and when Lou shows up, he said Lou Jr. had soccer practice. So I don't know. Maybe that's what happened. So. Women aren't worried about the sultans of Duck Duck Goose. Mark Dudley says later. He just got here. Good afternoon, Mark Dudley, and good afternoon, see you later, Mark Dudley, I guess, is what we'll say to him. George says he loves me because I brighten his day. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. You know, after waking up to dozens of comments this morning. Especially, LSU fans coming out of the woodwork, man. Haven't seen a single one of them on my channel in a year. Haven't seen one of them in real life since 2010. But there's hundreds of them now on Pigskin Pete's YouTube channel leaving comments talking about how I don't know anything about football. But where have they been? They've been hiding. They've been in hiding for the past 8 years. All of a sudden they win one game and they show up acting like they're going to beat Alabama and win national titles all of a sudden. Give me a break. How is Michigan still ranked? I don't know. That's a great question, sir. Texas got dropped to 65th. Is that true? Hey, good afternoon, XSS Glover. How you doing, sir? Gators picked up some good recruits today. Offensive lineman, 4-star. Herod. There was another Billy Dawson. Yeah, Billy Dawson's in here. Hey, who's the player that was committed to Clemson or Alabama, and he chose Clemson? What was that guy's name? You sent it to me on Twitter earlier. I can't remember what his name was. Air Max the Legend Killer says, "I'ma just say this fact: TCU 76 wins since 2010." Here, let me do the math real quick. You can see how smart I am. 2010, right? So, 8 years. 8 years. 76 wins, right? So that's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. That's less than 10 wins a year, sir. That's 8 seasons, right? 2010 through 2017. 76 wins. Yeah. That's less than 10 wins, sir. So, not great. DeGoat Watson, how you doing? Good afternoon, sir. Ohio State looks good. Yes, Ohio State does look good. The only criticism I have about the way Ohio State looks is that they gave up how many points did they give up? Way too many. Any more than 7 is too many to Oregon State. I mean, they gave up like what was the score of that game? I realized that Ohio State scored like 80 points, which is not surprising. But they gave up like 3 scores to Oregon State. 31. They gave up 31 points to Oregon State. How does that happen? That's what I'd be worried about if I'm Ohio State. About 8.5 wins, says College Football Maniac. He must have that calculator out. Something I don't have. Even if I did have one, I wouldn't know how to use it. Let's see. Did Uncle Lou show up yet? No, he didn't. So if he doesn't end up calling in, look at the bright side. He'll get some free logo advertisement on the Pigskin Pete YouTube page. Got his logo up there. Yeah, I don't know. I spoke with him earlier today. I don't know what happened. Something either came up. Or something, I don't know. Press A if Gamecock Steve will kill himself after Saturday. I shouldn't have read that. I should have read that before I said it out loud. College Football Dojo, good afternoon, sir. Welcome to the stream. I'm sure if you're here, you're amazing and fantastic. Otherwise, you would not be here. He says he's about to go to Walmart. Do we want anything? Yeah. I want you to tell the manager, and I'm sure you're probably in a different state, but let the manager know to please have more than 2 registers open when they've got 50 of them on any given day. And if they do that, Pigskin Pete might consider going there more than once a year to buy stuff. Miranda Dansby, good afternoon. Favorite damsel in distress. The Goat Watson says, Pigskin Pete, how do you feel about Clemson being 13.5-point favorites against Texas A&M? Is that too high or too low or about right? I'd say it's about right, to be honest. Here's the thing: if this game weren't if this weren't an early game in the year, if it weren't at night at Texas A&M, I'd say I'd give Clemson a 17-point difference, probably, because it's early in the year, because we're going to be playing 2 quarterbacks, one of which is a true freshman. It's going to be his first experience on the road in a tough environment. The whole 9 yards. That's the only reason I'd say 13.5, 14 points is probably about right. Even if Clemson only won by 10 points. First of all, the game itself to me is easy to pick. Clemson's winning the game. I see very few scenarios where Clemson doesn't win the game. Period. But this game could range anywhere from 7-point win to 30. So I wouldn't bet it just because there's too many unknowns. But I think Clemson wins easily. Falcons Fury, good afternoon, sir. Welcome to the stream. Baltard says Clemson will curb stomp A&M. That's what I tend to believe too. Paul Jameson, how you doing, man? Welcome to the stream. Good afternoon, sir. Hard to say curb stomp ever. The Goat says he thinks it'll be a close game because we always play down to our competition. Well, that's not completely true. So listen, I'll tell you one thing: we do tend to play better in big primetime games on the road. Believe it or not, and that's what you'll hear people saying. Oh well, it's a tough place to play, Texas A&M at night. That place is going to be loud. We tend to play better in those games than we do playing Furman at home. It's something about it. The players get up for it more, and they feel like they have more to prove in a hostile environment than they do at a friendly environment against a team that they should beat. Yes, Tiger Nation says that y'all are slacking on the like button. I agree, sir. Clemson in primetime is their most comfortable. Yes, exactly. I agree. Here, I'm going to give let's put Lou on the spot here. I'll give him a text on air. How about that? Hope he's okay. Yeah, what the hell is your problem? People hit the like button, says Falcons Fury. George says Trevor Lawrence could easily beat Texas A&M by 4 touchdowns all by himself. Paul Jameson, who's a Ohio State fan, he says he loves Dabo. And he hopes that we beat A&M. Yeah, I don't think that'll be a problem, sir. But thank you for the well wishes. I appreciate that. I think South Carolina will beat Georgia, though College Football Maniac says DeGoat Watson. DeGoat Watson, this seems to be a wave of people. Now, obviously, I don't agree with that assessment, and that's what I'm waiting to. I don't want to get into it because that's what I'm getting into with Lou if he calls in. But let's just say I disagree. But that does seem to be a very popular opinion right now, all over TV, all over social media, is that somehow South Carolina is a better team than Georgia or is going to beat Georgia. I don't know. I don't see it. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but I'd be fairly surprised if it did happen. How did TCU look first week? I think they looked pretty good. They played a nobody, just like half of the country did. Of course, that is my pick to win the Big 12. Well, if you want to call it a dark horse, you can call it a dark horse. However, I don't think it's a dark horse necessarily. Obviously, Oklahoma is the favorite and should win the Big 12 every year based on their talent level. But TCU plays really good defense, which is a rare thing in the Big 12. So we'll see. They have a new quarterback coming in there, a new starting quarterback anyway. They're comparing this kid to what's that TCU quarterback from a few years ago that was really good. I can't remember his name. They're comparing him to him anyway. We'll see how he plays. Their first big test will be against Ohio State. Hey, Paul Jameson. That's next week, right? Week 3, I think. That's one of the top games. Week 3 is Ohio State at TCU, or is it at TCU or in somewhere else in Texas? Yeah, Trayvon Boykin. Thank you, College Football Dojo. That's who I'm talking about. And Air Max the Legend Killer. Appreciate that. So yeah, we'll see. That'll be a very good measuring stick. Falcons Fury says, "Oh yeah, Pete, I called it. Old Willie sucks and Cam is overrated." Well, I'm not going to argue with you about the first part of that statement, that old Willie sucks. He certainly laid an egg last night. No doubt about that. Cam Akers being overrated, I don't agree with. I mean, you must have missed the first part of my conversation today because I went over that game last night, and it's clear that the biggest and most glaring problem has been and still is the offensive line for Florida State. The quarterback has no time. The running backs have no holes or time. They have one of the worst offensive lines in the country. So, I mean, even with that terrible offensive line last year, Cam Akers had like 1,900 yards or something like that. Yeah, he's not overrated. But maybe Willie Taggart does suck. I don't know. We'll have to find out as the season progresses. Yes, Delusion is expecting South Carolina. Listen, if you're a South Carolina fan, I mean, come on. Even if you do win the game next week against Georgia, you're not blowing Georgia out. Just stop it with that. Stop it. Florida State, your season is over. I would have to agree, sir, because listen, they still have to play Clemson. They still have to play Miami. Now, Miami didn't look great either, but they looked better than Florida State did. Hell, I mean, they have to play. They still got to play the rest of their entire schedule. They got to play Florida. I mean, NC State. They got to play Boston College, Louisville. I mean, yeah, it's going to be a long road for Florida State this year. It could be another 7 or 8 win season if they're lucky. If they fix some stuff. You can't really blame Florida State's defense, though. They were on the field for 75% of the game. I mean, their offense was just terrible. So the defense by the end of the game was just completely gassed, and they couldn't even hardly stand up. That's how tired they were. The fact that they held them to only 30 points, 31 points or whatever it was, being on the field for 50 out of the 60 minutes of the game is nothing short of amazing. But their offense is just atrocious. There goes my watch again. What's going on? Coming to hate. After watching first week how horrible Florida State looked, to what game do you think is the hardest? I guess you're talking about the hardest game for Clemson. Will be Boston College, NC State, because NC State's always tough. I don't care what anybody says. And then we'll see how Louisville looks. You know, I know they got stomped by Alabama. Doesn't mean they can't put together a good game and give Clemson a game. We'll see. SEC Dog, good afternoon, sir. Welcome to the stream. SEC Dog says, this Saturday the chicken season will be over. I don't know about that. Their chances of winning the East will be slimmer. Their season won't be over, though. Yeah. Somebody's saying it's lagging. I don't know. I imagine if Clemson blows out Texas A&M and Deshaun Watson beats Tom Brady the next day, can't wait. Yeah, so I did my fantasy draft last night for the Sports Fury Content Creators League. And here, let me give you my guys. Let me pull up my the team. They were giving me crap, and I know that they're just busting my balls, but they were giving me crap because in the first round I picked Christian McCaffrey. They were saying I was being a homer and reaching for Christian McCaffrey, which, by the way, he's the only Panthers player I did pick. I wasn't reaching. I think that Christian McCaffrey is going to be a huge fantasy player this year. He's going to touch the ball probably 30 times a game. But anyway, here, let me pull up. Well, I missed a call here. I don't know how that happened. Bear with me here. Talk amongst yourselves if you have to. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, sorry about that. Michael Flowers, he's the worst troll in the world. But good afternoon and welcome to the stream, sir. I mean, geez, Will Muschamp's better than Dabo Sweeney. That's not even creative or funny, and definitely not true. So, all right, let me see if I can pull up my thing here.
How do we make the most of our favorite season? You do the shopping, we'll do the show.
The hell is that? A commercial? All right, so here's my starting lineup for my fantasy draft with the Sports Fury. Of course, I've got Deshaun Watson as my quarterback, Christian McCaffrey, Kareem Hunt, Jarvis Landry, Stephon Diggs, Sammy Watkins, Jimmy Graham as a tight end, the Vikings defense, and Gostkowski is my kicker. Now, somebody tell me that's a terrible starting lineup so I can slap you. Please. And thank you for that. And then on my bench, yes, Uncle Lou, you can call in now if you're watching. He just texted me. So Lou says he's about to call in. He was, well, I'll let him tell you what he was doing. Boont Gang says that's a terrible lineup. You're out of your mind. Good afternoon, Pigskin Pete here. How you doing?
Oh, yeah, good morning. It's Uncle Lou here.
Yeah, man. I'm glad you finally showed up. I was giving you a free promotion here on the screen with your logo and everything.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. You're on the air, by the way, just so you know. But yeah, I'm glad. Listen, I'm better late than never, right? And I told the fine people here on the air. Some of them only showed up because you were coming on. I mean, that's welcome to my life. No, I told them you had Lou Jr. had soccer practice. You were probably hung up or something. So anyway. I know you don't have a lot of time, and so let's get right into this. Now, everybody knows how we both feel about the Boom Chickens. We could sit here and have a field day just bashing the crap out of them and send them home with their tail feathers between their chicken legs if we wanted to. But let's really talk about the game, because that's really what I'm more interested in here. So I'll give you my brief thoughts. First of all, what I'm seeing all over TV, all over YouTube, hearing all over the radio, is this thing where they say, on the road is a tough game for Georgia. Now, before I went live today, I actually went back and watched parts of your stream. I guess it was from yesterday. And somebody called in and said, "Are you worried about the game?" And you said, "Why would I be worried about going 2 hours away or 3 hours away or whatever it is to play an unranked team?" And that's exactly the way I feel about it. That's exactly the way I feel about us playing Texas A&M this week. It is what it is. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. After that, I want to get into the matchups on both sides of the ball.
Right. Well, a lot of people, and some Georgia fans too, this isn't just a South Carolina fan thing, but a lot of people are hung up on this 4-4 over the last 8 years thing with South Carolina. Or I've even heard South Carolina, this is the funniest thing. Last time we played up there 2 years ago, there was that big hurricane that weekend. All the games in Florida got canceled, and they delayed the South Carolina game from Saturday to Sunday.
Right.
And so I've had people telling me UGA hasn't won in Columbia on a Saturday since whatever 2000 and whatever. And I'm like, oh yeah, it matters that we beat you up there, but it was on Sunday. Okay, whatever. That is a tough place to play. I don't want to downgrade that. I mean, it's not Missouri. Yeah. It's not Vandy. It's not Kentucky.
Yeah.
But it's not LSU either.
Yeah.
I haven't gone and looked at like South Carolina's home record versus away record in any number of general years or whatever. But I mean, if you stop 100 college football fans on the street and ask them to name 10 stadiums with huge home field advantages, none of those people are going to name South Carolina. I mean, they're going to name LSU, Alabama, Ohio State, whatever. I mean, so the point is, I get that it's a hostile crowd and all that, but I think a little bit too much is being made of the fact that it's a road game for UGA. I mean, I think Carolina's got a good team. And the thing is, I tried the approach, and I've mentioned this a bunch of times, but, I tried the approach 6 months ago of saying, I think South Carolina's going to be a really good team. And I somehow managed to piss off both fan bases. Georgia fans told me I didn't know what I was talking about. Carolina's going to be terrible again. Carolina, I said Carolina could possibly go 10-2. South Carolina fans took it as an insult. So, I just decided, okay, well, forget it. I mean, why even try to be nice or realistic with South Carolina fans? I mean, I don't know who South Carolina fans think they're rooting for the last 100 years, that they think they're in a position to consider 10-2 as an insult.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be the second greatest year they've ever had. I mean, they've won 11 games a few times.
Yeah.
3 years in a row they won 11 games. So other than that, a 10-win season is the best they've ever done. I don't understand why they took it that way. So I just said, well, you know what? Forget it. I'll just go back to telling them that they're dumpster juice, and they have no chance.
Yeah,
I mean,
they got battered wife syndrome, man. They'd rather be slapped around like they've been slapped around for the past 100 years than someone give them an inkling of a compliment.
Right.
They don't know how to take it.
We're not the same team as last year. We're better than no team is the same team as last year. I'm sure South Carolina has areas that they're better in this year than they were last year. Guess what? So does Georgia. South Carolina probably has some areas where they're not as good. So does Georgia. The bottom line is you stack these two rosters up next to each other, and they just don't compare.
And
I say this all the time. Why does Alabama win all the time? Because they have better players. It has nothing to do with Nick Saban doesn't know some kind of defense that no one else knows.
Yeah.
Nick Saban has the best players. Does Alabama go undefeated every year? No. Could Georgia lose to South Carolina? Yes. But Georgia is a much better team right now than South Carolina is.
Yeah.
Period.
So that's a perfect segue into this next part of this conversation, because I want to talk about the actual matchups here. Yeah. So South Carolina offensively against Georgia defensively. Now, this is what South Carolina's fans been telling me for the past 4 months. Leading up to this game this week, is that Georgia lost Roquan Smith. Georgia lost all these great players from the defense to the NFL. They're not going to have. They're going to have it can be impossible for them to stop Deebo Samuel and Edwards. With the defensive back. So let me ask you, because obviously everybody knows. Well, here's my opinion on it anyways. I think everybody knows it because I think everybody thinks like me, but that's wrong. The only way that South Carolina has a chance to win this game is through the air. They're not going to do it running the ball because their most explosive weapons are in the wide receiver core on offense. And, of course, Jake Bentley, he's either hit or miss. He could throw 4 touchdowns or 4 interceptions. It just depends on the day and who he's playing against. So how will Georgia's defense approach this? What do you think their strategy will be to shut down Deebo? Will they double team him, or do you have a defensive back that's good enough to cover him one-on-one, or will they just try to get after Bentley and make him flustered?
Yeah, I actually think Deebo will get one-on-one coverage from Baker for the majority of the game.
Yeah.
Now, is Baker going to shut him down for the entire game? No. Deebo will make some catches. He's too good of a wide receiver to get shut down. I mean, people caught passes on Deion Sanders every single game that he ever played. So, Deebo will make some plays. He's an elite wide receiver. The issue that Georgia has in the secondary is not a talent issue, it's an experience issue. We're going to be starting a first-year starter on opposite of DeAndre Baker, so that's going to have to be where the help goes over the top as far as a double team or a safety over the top or something like that. It's going to have to be on the other side, and we're going to have to leave Baker out there with Deebo Samuel. And I don't know how much South Carolina fans know about DeAndre Baker. They think I'm just hyping him up or whatever, but he'll be a first-round draft pick next year. He's on everybody. If you look up top 5 corners in America, he's somewhere on that list, no matter whose list you look at. I mean, you got Greedy Williams at LSU, and then most people have DeAndre Baker as number 2 in the SEC behind Greedy Williams. But he's top 5 no matter who you look at.
Right.
He completely shut down Calvin Ridley in the national title game. Ridley did nothing. I mean, Ridley had a couple of catches in the second half, but just totally took Ridley. Hurts gets a lot of blame for that national title game, but if you watch Alabama play during the season, most of Hurts' passes were to Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
Over 50% of Hurts' completions were to Calvin Ridley last year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the reasons Alabama struggled so bad in the first half of the national title game, is because DeAndre Baker was just a blanket on Calvin Ridley, and that made Hurts look terrible. He wasn't comfortable going anywhere else with the ball. Anyway, I'm not going to get into all that again, but so I think DeAndre Baker is good enough to win some one-on-one matchups with Deebo, and Deebo is good enough to win some one-on-one matchups with Baker. I'm not going to put down. I've been saying Deebo is one of the best wide receivers in the SEC for 2 years. I'm not going to suddenly change my mind now just because we're playing him this week. He's an elite wide receiver. But Baker's an elite corner. I mean, so that's going to be a push, I think, in my opinion. I think Carolina will make some plays. Baker may get a pick. I mean, Carolina's had more interceptions than touchdowns in each of the last 2 games against UGA. That could easily happen again.
And that's the same against Clemson. That's what happens when they go up against teams that have elite pass rushers, elite defensive lines, and a decent backfield. Because if Bentley gets flustered, and he doesn't have time. He succeeds when he's got a clean pocket. Whenever he doesn't, when he's got guys in his face, that's when he throws a lot of interceptions. So we'll see what happens with that. So on the other side of the ball, obviously the other storyline, if you talk to every Gamecock fan, and of course even some Georgia fans, I'm not going to lie, everything that you lost at running back, you're the leaders and veterans on your team, on Sony Michel and Nick Chubb, obviously two legends to come through Georgia in the past 20 years. I mean, yeah, it's a huge blow to lose those guys. I do, however, believe, I know that what's his name, Zeus got hurt right in the preseason, and so now you have the number one guy. I'm assuming is going to be DeAndre Swift. Holyfield, I'm guessing, is not that good from what I'm hearing from people. Who's the second guy on that depth chart?
Well, Holyfield is number 2 right now. I mean, I think the plan was Swift 1, Zeus 1A, and then sort of a committee approach after that with Holyfield, Harrion, and Cook. When Zeus went down, that sort of changed everything around. Holyfield is really the only bruiser type running back that we have. I mean, DeAndre Swift is not small. I mean, he's Sony Michel's size. He's 6 foot 210, 215. But he's more of a slasher and a cutter. He's not nothing. He's not the type of guy you would consider like a goal line back or a third and short type of thing. So Holyfield's really the only one we have left that's like that. So I think he'll most likely be the second running back in, especially since James Cook is he can't play in the first half. He got ejected in the second half last week for targeting. He looked really good, by the way, true freshman running back. But he's sort of like Swift too, like almost like a slasher, like a third down type of back. Really good catching out of the backfield. He can play out of the slot position.
Right.
So it's gonna be Swift and it's gonna be the Swift and Holyfield show for the first half for sure, and then in the second half we'll have a rested Cook to put in there,
right,
to kind of give those guys a little bit of a break, and that's really where I think the difference is going to be in this game. South Carolina's first team offense and first team defense is capable of competing with just about anybody in the SEC. I don't think they're as talented as top tier teams, but they've got enough weapons and enough good players and enough experience and stuff like that on their first team offense and defense where I think they can compete with some of the better teams in the SEC. Where the difference is really going to show, and if you listen to Will Muschamp talk, he has said this multiple times over the offseason, it's after that.
Yeah, it's depth.
When Georgia gets a drive going and gets 2 or 3 first downs, and it's 100 degrees, and you have to rotate your defensive tackles out, the people that are going in to replace the first string, it's a much bigger drop off at South Carolina than it is at a team like Georgia or Alabama,
and listen,
a team that's been recruiting at an elite level for multiple years in a row, and that's where I think you're going to see this game swing in the second half. I mean, listen, I've lived in Augusta, Georgia my entire life. I don't those players for South Carolina, they could have lived in Columbia their entire life. It's still hot as 100 hells down there this Saturday, and it wears on you.
Yeah.
And the ability for Georgia or teams like Georgia, Clemson, Alabama, these teams that have recruited at a high level year after year to rotate, particularly defensive linemen, in and out of a game makes a huge difference in the second half of games.
Yeah. And offensively for Georgia, outside of the running game, I mean, again, you lost some great running backs, but I think that you're not going to get away from running the football just because you lost 2 guys. That's still going to be the centerpiece of your offense. But this year, and you can tell me if I'm wrong because I'm not an expert on Georgia roster or anything, but I do watch it a little bit like I watch other teams, especially the good ones. You might have the best wide receiving core you've ever had in a decade, right? And you have a quarterback that can get him the ball who's got some experience under his belt playing in big games.
Yeah, this is, without question, this is the best wide receiving core Georgia has ever had.
Yeah, see?
Period.
Yeah.
Now, there is no A.J. Green on this team. There's no Deebo Samuel even on our team. But as a unit, I mean, you're talking about, okay, Terry Godwin, he's a 4-year star. He's a 5-star. It started all 4 years. He's a senior. You got Calvin Ridley's younger brother, Riley Ridley, on the other side, 4-star. Demetrius Robertson, 5-star. Mecole Hardman in the slot, 5-star. Isaac Nauta at tight end, 5-star. And I can already hear the keyboards crunching in the background for the Carolina fans saying that stars don't matter. Yes, they matter. only time stars don't matter is when your team doesn't have any.
Yeah, exactly.
Stars absolutely matter. The teams, the overall offensive speed. You know, it almost seems like people quit talking about speed when it comes to offense anymore. People get so infatuated with defensive speed now, like, oh my God, that 300-pound lineman runs a 4.640 or whatever. People almost forget, like, offensive speed matters too. But McCole Hardman and D-Rob, I mean, those guys are lightning fast. It's unbelievable. I mean, you look at the game last week, Terry Godwin didn't even play. Minor injury. He would have played if the game would have mattered at all, so he'll be playing this week.
Right.
D-Rob never even went out for a pass. You know, I mean, and South Carolina did the same thing in their game. I mean, you're just running the most basic of plays against teams like same thing Clemson did with Furman, you know.
Yeah.
You're just running the most vanilla basic of plays. But so, I mean, we had no downfield passes last week. You know, it was just real basic. And I think they're going to let those guys loose this week.
Right. All right, so to end this, I'll ask you one last question because I'm about to get off here in a second. We went through a little bit of the X's and O's as much as we could, and, you know, some of the changes on both teams and how we think Georgia's going to attack South Carolina, vice versa. Let's assume here for a second. I'm going way out on a limb. Now, listen, first of all, I'm picking Georgia to win this game, I think, pretty easily by 10 points or more. Would I be shocked if South Carolina won the game? No, of course they can win it. Anything can happen. I mean, both teams have scholarships. Okay, it's not the end of the world if Georgia loses this game somehow, if South Carolina pulls it out. However, how do you see the landscape of the East working out? Now, I'm of the belief that it doesn't matter if South Carolina does win this game, they're still not winning the East. I still think Georgia's the team to beat in the East, and I also still think that South Carolina's going to lose at least 2 or 3 more games in the East. Missouri could be one, Kentucky could be one, A&M could be one, Florida could be one. They don't have any real easy outs. So this is the first of several tough games for them this year, in my opinion. So first of all, you can make a pick, even though we already know who you're going to pick in this game, and then let me know how you think the East is going to play out.
Yeah, obviously I'm picking Georgia to win. I could see a scenario like last year where it's close in the first half, maybe. South Carolina really hurt us last year with their tight end over the middle. He's gone. That Hayden Hurst guy,
Yeah.
He was the real deal. He's gone. But of course, they didn't have Debo last year either. So, you know, I'm sure Debo will replace the production in this game that they got from their tight end last year. But I could see Carolina keeping it close, maybe even having a slight lead at halftime, a 17-14, a 14-13, or you know, whatever type of thing. But I just don't see South Carolina being able to hang on for 4 quarters in this game. I just think Georgia is too talented overall. Yes, I know Georgia has taken plenty of teams into Columbia that were more talented and lost. Georgia has never taken a team this talented into Columbia, period.
Right.
This is the most talented team the University of Georgia has ever had. I mean, the team that Georgia is going to be putting on the field the next 2 or 3 years will be favored in every single game they play.
Yep.
Unless they play Alabama. That's just the reality of the situation. That doesn't mean we're winning all those games, but the talent is at a level right now at Georgia that I've never seen. You know, anything can happen when they have to get out there and play. We'll see. Carolina's definitely going to be pumped up. In terms of the winner or the loser, I mean, forget this game. Like you said, who can you picture having a better season after this game, no matter who wins this one? It's Georgia.
Yeah.
Carolina still has never beat Texas A&M. They got a 4-game losing streak at Kentucky. Florida looks better than I thought they would. Yes, I know it's Charleston Southern, but still, you can't rag on Florida for scoring 20 points a game against crappy teams for the last 3 years and not give them any credit at all for scoring 60-something against a crappy team.
And
so
where's that game at? Where's the South Carolina-Florida game being played? I didn't even look that up.
I have no idea. You have to get one of the type patrols to tell you.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. They can still beat them.
I mean, I think that'll be a good game. I'm not saying Carolina will lose that game, but that'll be a good game. Florida and Carolina fans has to admit too. I would think Florida looks better, I think, than what we thought they would. We'll see. And now, of course, we have to go to LSU and we have to host Auburn. You know, South Carolina doesn't have to play teams that good.
No.
You know, Georgia's the best team South Carolina's playing in the SEC. Period. We got to play LSU and Auburn. 2 teams that are better than South Carolina. So
the guys are telling me it's in Florida.
Either way, I'll be honest with you. If Georgia loses, depending on how and why we lose, it really could be the end for Georgia. Because if we lose this game and it's just obvious that we're not good enough to beat South Carolina, then we're not beating Auburn or LSU, period. And we won't win these.
I would disagree there.
If something weird happens, I don't know. I don't even know what it could be. Some kind of freak injury or whatever. South Carolina gets like 3 punt return touchdowns, or if something weird like that happens, or a blown call or something, then you say, nah, Georgia, clearly was a better team. They just got screwed. If it's that type of thing, maybe. But if Georgia just gets outplayed and is not good enough to beat South Carolina, I can't imagine them beating Auburn or at LSU. So who knows?
Yeah, I disagree with that because Clemson lost to Pitt a couple years ago and won a national title. So you can go out there and lay an egg in one game and still beat great teams.
You watched the LSU Miami game. That's why I'm not worried.
Yeah.
Those days are over. We don't have to suffer with that anymore.
Yeah.
Miami. They didn't even show up, and I almost felt sorry for Miami fans because I just have been through that so many times, and it wasn't even. It felt like when we played Alabama in 2015. It wasn't that you lost; it was that you didn't even show up. It looked like you didn't belong on the same field with LSU, and the talent is at Miami to at least compete with LSU. Okay, LSU wins a close game. Okay, fine, but to get blown out like that on national TV, I felt so bad for Miami fans. But those days are over. Yeah. For us, Kirby, the days of playing down to our competition and beating Vandy by 4 points and, beating Louisiana Monroe by 10 or 12 or 14 points, those days are over. We beat everybody we played last year by 30 and 40 points. I'm not saying we'll beat South Carolina by 30 or 40, but I think we'll cover the 9.5.
Yeah. Yeah, LSU fans, man, they think they're winning the national. They think Ed O's Nick Saban now. All of a sudden, they won one game against.
I always get huge overreactions after the first weekend, but man, LSU was taking the cake. You're right. Look, listen, these same fans wanted to fire Ed Orgeron like 4 days ago.
Yeah.
Now, one of them called into Paul Feinbaum yesterday and wanted to know, well, Paul, what's going to happen when LSU and Alabama are both undefeated and the game is only decided by a field goal and are we going to get into playoffs? And Paul's like, whoa. You play Auburn in 2 weeks, sir. You still have to play Mississippi State. You still have to play Texas A&M. Georgia's coming to Baton Rouge. What are you talking about? A close game with Alabama and still making playoffs at 11-1. Like, slow down. You beat a poorly coached Miami team. Just, pump the brakes a little bit there.
I'm telling you, I woke up the next morning because I did like a halftime stream for that and a reaction after the game. I woke up the next morning. First of all, I hadn't seen a single LSU fan comment or on my channel in a year. There must have been 50 of them on there. And I'm like, where did these guys come from? They act like they just won the damn Super Bowl. They're winning national titles, and the ACC sucks. And I'm thinking, man, you guys, unbelievable. And they'll go away here by the end of the season after they only win 8 or 9 games. I won't see them again.
Speaking of going away, aren't you going to miss all these Carolina fans that have been around for the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I give them probably. After next week, they'll half of them will go away. The other ones will still think they have a shot, and then usually about week 9 or 10. The rest of them disappear except for the ones that are really trolling hard at. But the countdown clock has began on how long it's going to be before they go away. I can't wait. I'm getting tired of listening to them, to be honest.
I had one trying to bet me all kinds of crazy bets in my comment section the other day, and I was like, "Look here, man. I tell you what, make a video." Put your face on camera, make a video, and I'll consider taking the bet. I said, I don't know who you think. I'm going to make a bet with some faceless cypher troll who's going to delete his account at halftime. Come on.
Yeah.
I said, I'll make a bet with Carolina Jackpot. He's on video.
Right.
I'm going to, and he's calling me every name in the book because I won't take the bet with him, and I'm scared, and I know Georgia's going to lose. That's why I won't take the bet. I'm going to take a bet with the guy didn't even have an avatar on his YouTube thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like Cat Nibbler or something, Cat Nibbler 222. But I'm this and that, and because I won't take the bet with a faceless type of troll.
That's like these.
But you'll be gone at halftime, buddy. That's what I'm
You do the same thing I do. If you're on YouTube and you do college football, you do these predictions. You can't get on camera and not predict games that are coming up that week. So you pick games and you pick who's going to win. I pick against the spread, whatever. Hell, I was 4-2 this week in my picks against the spread. But I got 2 of them wrong, and I tell you what, them 2 I got wrong. Everybody and their mother showed up to tell me I don't know nothing about football because I got a game wrong. I'm like, look, why don't you go on camera? Who'd you pick? Because I guarantee you don't pick 100% of the games right. Nobody does. Or if you did, you'd be a millionaire in Vegas right now.
Yeah, I'm going through the same thing. I was like, dude, I said, man, I picked 50 or 60. Like, these people are heckling me because I picked Washington to beat Auburn. I'm like, man, do you have any idea how hard this game was to pick? I was like, why do you think it was a 1 or 2 point spread? I was like, this was literally a coin flip game. I said, and besides, it's not like Auburn beat them by 40 points. This was a 1-possession game.
Yeah, I picked.
I don't know. Look at this idiot. This idiot must have never watched football before picking Washington to beat Auburn. Same thing with Notre Dame and Michigan. I picked Michigan to win. Look at this clown. This clown should delete his channel picking Michigan to beat Notre Dame. He must have never watched a football game before. Oh my God! 2 top 15 teams played, and it was a 1-possession game. I picked the wrong side. I'm such an idiot.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, like you said, I picked 50 or 60 games, but then every preview video I do at the end, I say, okay, here's the 2 or 3 I would really play if I was going to bet them. And so I've done that 11 times. I'm 7-4 in those, which is pretty. You can hit 65% of your bets against the spread.
Hey, listen.
I mean, professional gamblers don't hit much higher.
Anything over 50% is good. Period.
Yeah, I hear you. I'd rather make $1 than lose one.
Yeah, I mean, I picked Miami to beat LSU, and you would have thought. I mean, these people acted like I'm like, look, 80% of America picked Miami to beat LSU. Hell, they were favored in the game.
I know, and so I hear you. Yeah, and then you get something right, and your comment section's quiet as hell.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I woke up to 2 this morning with the Florida, because I picked Florida State to win. But meanwhile, I did say on camera I wouldn't touch this game with a 10-foot pole as far as betting, because there's just too many question marks with both teams. I don't know what I'm going to see. I picked Florida State just simply based on the fact that they have been recruiting better for the past 5 years than Virginia Tech has, and that's it. Well,
y'all play Florida State this year, don't you?
We play Florida State every year. They're in our division.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, I'm not saying you were worried before, but you have to be a lot less worried now.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the games I was a little bit worried about, because we got to play in Tallahassee this year. I'm definitely listen. They have no offensive line. Their offensive line is terrible.
I feel sorry for Francois. They're going to kill him again.
They're
going to get him killed again this year.
They either need to. I don't know what they're going to do. They need to do something though, because Clemson they might get negative yards in that game the way they looked last night.
You know who else has to be regretting the decision he made is Cam Akers, because you say what you want about FSU, man. That dude is legit. He's an NFL. I mean, he'll be an NFL player without question.
That poor guy.
For them.
Yeah.
And he just can't. I mean, by the time he gets the ball, there's 2 defenders on. I mean, that line is just so bad.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I just feel bad for him, man. But
I feel bad for the quarterback too.
The NFL is smart enough to look past stuff like that, and they know talent when they see it. So he'll still get his shot in the NFL, but he's not going to have a good college career with that offensive line. It's just horrible. Yeah,
I mean, they've had that problem. This is the 3rd year now that they've had that problem.
I know. They've given up 70 sacks over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
It was like 38 one year, 32 another year. I mean, that's just insane.
That's unbelievable.
And Virginia Tech's entire defense was brand new. Now, Bud Foster's a defensive genius, so I don't think anybody was expecting Virginia Tech's defense to be horrible. But they lost like most of their good players off their defense from last year. Had a lot of new guys out there, and I mean they had them looking like all Americans out there.
Yeah, I agree. That's it's Clemson should run through that division now without them in their way. Boston College is who I'm worried about more than anything. But hey, my computer's literally about to die. I appreciate you calling in, man. I'll either be back on your show at some point, maybe to preview a Clemson game or something. But we'll get together again sometime. But like I said, I really want to appreciate you calling in. I'm sure everyone that was watching was happy to see you come on, and people have been asking me to have you on. So
thanks. I had a great time, man. Anytime I can do it, I'm more than happy to. Thanks for having me on. I'll talk to you later.
Yep. Have a good one.
All right.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. The legend, Uncle Lou. So thanks for calling in. Obviously, he's great on his channel. He's great on every channel. I could talk to him all day about football. So, listen, I'll see you guys on Thursday at 4 p.m. If my computer doesn't shut off right now for my next scheduled stream at 4 p.m. This Saturday, do not miss it. Tell your friends about it. Tattoo it on your forehead. If you tattoo it backwards, make sure you tattoo it backwards. I can't even say my own saying right now. My head is about to explode. Anyways, I'll see you guys at 4. I may make another video for tomorrow, but I won't be on live tomorrow. Thanks to all my moderators. Thanks to everybody who stopped in. Even thank the trolls. Because if you're here, even if you're a troll, you're fantastic and amazing. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. So I appreciate everybody for stopping in. Had a great time today. Pigskin Pete, checking out.